Okay, this is Oldecam.
And this is not a spring chick.
Yeah, and we've had much discussion about the what exactly the president can do and what the president can do. Everybody seems to think, including all around the world, that the president of the United States actually runs this country. No, the House and the Senate actually run it.
Oh, really? So what can the president actually do?
Okay.
I mean, he's the figurehead. He's voted in by the people.
Basically, he is the head of state, which people do know. But along with being the most influential and recognizable political official, states is the head of the state and the head of the government of the United States, along with being its most influential and recognizing official. Basically, the President of the United States in a lot of things is just like the Queen of England.
But he does have presidential power. He has presidential orders to do all different things.
Well, yeah.
He signed.
But presidential orders can be overturned by Congress and by the courts. Basically, he leads the executive branch of the federal government. His role is to execute laws created by Congress in accordance with the Constitution of the United States. Article 2 of the Constitution establishes the President as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and enumerates powers specifically granted to the President, including the power to sign into law or veto bills passed by both houses of Congress, which basically, you know, he's a little bit more powerful than a governor of a state, simply because of the executive orders.
Actually, he's not as powerful as people are led to believe that he is.
No, he basically, he can circumnavigate things by executive order, but his executive orders, unlike that of other countries' heads, can be overthrown by a court. I mean, a little superior court can toss out a president's executive order.
Really?
Yep.
I had no idea.
I mean, a probate court can toss out an executive order.
Yeah, actually, a probate court judge is one of the most powerful, aren't they?
Yeah, a probate court, basically the Supreme Court of the United States basically does not have more power than a probate court.
And who would ever guess that one?
I know.
Or social services.
That's right. Basically, the president also has the power to create a cabinet of advisors and to grant pardons or reprieves. Well, but there's so much trouble over the pardons and reprieves that that's basically getting less and less being used. I mean, George,
yeah.
I think 180 is all he did.
Didn't he have the fewest number of pardons of any
Yeah,
president?
because he just simply, you know, he find the person they said is that doesn't believe in the legal system. Let almost everything stand. You know, let the conviction stand, but then would let people out because they serve time. And then finally, with the advising consent of the Senate, the President is empowered to make treaties and appoint federal officers, ambassadors, federal judges, leading to justice, Supreme Court. But in our system, the President of the United States is basically hamstrung by both houses of Congress. They don't like his judge picks. They don't like the treaties that he signs. And so they sit there and fight, at least for the last, since Richard Nixon, both houses of Congress have fought Republican or Democratic presidents tooth and nail on judges, on treaties, on everything. So.
Well, I mean, part of it is by the time you get, okay, at least the Senate has 100, and the House of Representatives has how many people? How many representatives? It's
100 members of the Senate and 400, and I think...
Is it almost 500?
Yeah, there's a little over 500 total people control the outcome of how our country runs.
So if you ever wonder about trying to get agreement, okay, if you have 3 people in your family trying to get them all to agree on the same thing, can you imagine trying to get 100 or 500 people?
It's just like we're currently in the middle of an economic stimulus battle. The Democrats have their version, Republicans have their version, and there's not going to be any joining of the two, because what Mr. Obama can't get it through his head is that our Congress works with all deliberate speed. It's like they work like an icebreaker trying to crush ice in the North Atlantic, very slow and methodically.
Well, and part of it is intentional in the way that the government is set up.
That's right.
It's not set up to be a dictatorship.
No, the President of the United States is subject to the, basically to the whims of the American Congress. The House of Representatives is elected every 2 years, so they have to move fast. The Senate is only elected every 6 years, so they can be slow and deliberative, which is...
And there's only 2 per state, no matter how small or large.
I mean, you could have, it's conceivable with population trends, we could have 100 members of the House of Representatives from the state of California one day and 300 from the other states. But of course, not with everybody leaving California, it's not actually happening. But they're trying to find places that actually want jobs. But Basically, as with the officials, the other branches of the federal government, the Constitution restrains the president with sets of checks and balances, which is basically House and Senate committees. You know, like the hearings, the endless hearings that were held the last 2 years over George Bush and Dick Cheney, they will continue during this next administration. So basically the check and balance is showing Mr. Obama, if you lose the Democratic Party's leadership in the House and Senate, your head is going to be, you know, on the chopping block then. But basically they're designed to prevent an individual or group from taking absolute power. Well, that if you have the presidency and the House and the Senate, absolute power is granted to the political party that's in charge.
Yeah, because notice how much of a change in the workings of Congress since the last, not the one where President Obama was elected, but the last election when it changed. So there was a majority of Democrats in both the Senate as well as the House.
Yeah, and what the Senate and the House does, more than what the President does, affects the way the world works. I mean,
it's not just the United States.
Remember, the world was in really good financial shape, even if it was only smoke and mirrors while the Republicans were running things. The instant the Democratic Party took over, the economy started to collapse.
I would accuse you of being anti-Democrat, but I know that you're not, because
no,
if you look back at what has happened in the last
I'm a
years,
historian. I have an actual doctorate in history. But the trick is throughout history, you'll see that for a long time, the Democratic Party has been anti-business.
Yeah.
And if you're anti-business, they feel that, they're basically tend to be more socialistic than the Republicans. Republicans look at things through rose-colored glasses. Democrats through, like the doom and gloom.
Well, actually, you can tell also in Hollywood the differences.
Yeah.
By the films.
By the films, okay. Republican movies tend to be profitable and positive, you know. Democratic movies tend to be, they're Mad Max would be a great example of a movie by the Democratic Party.
Why do you say that? I've never seen it.
Because it's got to do with doom and gloom. The world, no matter what you do, is going to be a worse place than it was for tomorrow. The world tomorrow will be a worse place than it was yesterday. So accept it. You know, that's doom and gloom. When Republicans, they look at things, Republicans will look at things through pastoral lenses. That we want to take the world back to a time that never actually existed.
So if you're out there going, okay, so what does this mean to me and what can I do? Yes, remember, your congressional, your congressmen and women, representatives, they represent you.
Yeah, and basically, They will not listen to a single thing you have to say, and the only power you have is called the power of recall. You can remove any member of the House or Senate that continually refuses to listen to what you have to say. The Screen Actors Guild is a perfect example of the system working. And they said, you know, democracy has ended in Screen Actors Guild.
Or you can impeach them too, right? Like Blagojevich.
Yeah, in that case, what it's setting as a standard that if the House and Senate of your state does not like the way you're doing things, they just simply will throw you out without having to have any justification.
Well, that's kind of unusual.
And remember, the President of the United States can also be removed from office in the same manner. So, you do have power. Your power is, you know, they don't listen to you, you can remove the person from office. That is the difference in a democracy from every other country in the world. Every other country in the world other than the British government, which is sort of a weird democracy. You know, basically, they removed their heads of state through a non-civilized method. Here you can remove the people that are in charge, including elected officials, in a matter of weeks with special elections.
Wow.
Yeah, that is the difference. But like we were talking about, like, you know, the people, that's the power of the president. He's not all powerful. He has nothing but a figurehead. And when he stands up and says something asinine, you know, if he doesn't have the support of his party, the asinine thing goes no further than a soundbite. So, and if George Bush was president right now, I mean, if John McCain was president at the moment, we'd be telling you about the stupid things that John McCain would be doing. But
we're going to let you know whatever is happening.
Yeah, but you know, this is Oldecam.
And this is Notaspringchick. We're here yesterday, today, and tomorrow.
And more information, go to www.montybubbles.net on the net.